All right, all right. It is so exciting to be here tonight. Welcome. I'll tell you, we have a really fun night tonight. I am so excited. We are 9 at Night. I'm Christine Campbell, your host, and we are every weekday night from Monday through Friday. And tonight it's all about the drive. And what I'm talking about, it's about motorsports. It's about behind the scenes. It's about the managers, the crew chief, the publicity, every aspect of motorsports that you can find, and who works on these mechanics. It's going to be everything we have. We have some really great guests tonight. I'm so excited. In fact, this guest, he's been kind of incognito for years, but I'm going to bring it out. And that's my co-host. I'm going to go ahead and introduce in just a little bit. But right now, I just want to say thank you for being here. And if you have any time at all, go ahead and email or text your friends so that they can get on here, because we're going to have some things nobody has seen in a very long time. I'm talking 30 years, 20 years, so it's going to be quite fun. So with that, stay tuned and we'll get going here. So excited. All right, Ray doesn't know I use this picture, a little bit blurry, but I had to find something. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce Ray Patterson. And I'll tell you, what's really great about Ray is that he definitely wears all kinds of hats, not only on TV shows when it comes to motorsports, not only with the Chartered Financial Analyst. That's a very serious podcast we have on Thursday nights where it's all about the money, but we're going to have another side of Ray that nobody has seen before, and that's the race car driver. Are you kidding? Did you know that about him? So we're going to say welcome to our show, Ray. Put your helmet
on. You like that?
I'm going to take a picture of this one.
Hang on one second. I just had to do that.
You got me back. Okay. I just tried to. You got to give me a better picture than that. I got that one off your Facebook page, but I do have some pictures. I'm gonna show you a couple that I got in your honor here. Okay.
I'm scared now. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Let's talk about this one.
That is from the October Bristol race in 1998.
Oh wow.
And
Bristol's a tough track.
Yeah, you see we both have the stashes. That was on a Thursday or a Friday night. Mm-hmm. And on Saturday morning, sometime that following Saturday morning, there's a charity that's still around. It's called and I can't remember if it was Stocks for Tots or the Children's Speedway Charities. It was probably that one. I don't remember, Christine, but what we did is we both sat in a barber chair. They brought in 2 barber chairs and people bid, they would have to, we gave away stuff, and it was like a silent auction thing. And then a barber came in and shaved our mustaches off.
Oh, gosh, Dale had his mustache. No way.
Yeah.
I've never seen it off. How long did it stay off? Like one day? And then
Now mine stayed off. Of course, mine looks like a caterpillar. His, I don't know, but he actually left it off um through, I believe, the following Daytona race in 99.
Mhm.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. But this was 1998.
Mhm.
And of course, it was 98. Um, February of 98 is when he won Daytona
Mhm.
after it eluding him for 19 tries. So it took him 20 tries to finally win while he was in the Cup Series to finally win Daytona. And that was February 98. So this was actually later that year. And he kept it off. He kept that stash off until I think it was Daytona 99. And Teresa loved it with it off. And I gotta think about who I was with at that point. Oh, that was Miss Cindy. Yeah. So she liked it, the fact that I had it off too. And I have never since then, I had that on my lip from the time I was about 14 until that weekend.
Mhm.
And I never grew it back, and I haven't grown it back since.
I
So
haven't. I
that's a
haven't.
little story there.
Yeah, and I want to go back to Dell, but I'm going to move to another picture real quick. So this one I just
Oh my
grabbed.
God. Oh my God. That was from Becky and I went to a Halloween party
Mhm.
in Miami. That was about 2 or 3 years ago.
Mhm.
And it was very last minute for me. I didn't have a costume, so I went into the closet, pulled that darn thing out of the mothballs, literally.
Mhm.
And the good news is it still fit.
I was going to say, it looks like an original from back in the 80s or 90s. So,
Yeah,
or
that was
90s.
I think that was let me look at that. Yeah, that was back when Motor Tracks, when I was on the business side of NASCAR. Motor Tracks Interactive was our company back then, that Dale was part of, obviously.
Mhm.
And I think I see, oh yeah, I see the TNN. We were a big sponsor and partner back then with TNN Motorsports. And then I think that looks like my old IMSA, International Motorsports Association patch. And then above that, that looks like the Miller High Life.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow.
Well,
Wow.
I thought you would enjoy that. There's a couple of
Oh,
comments.
I've even got on um that that monster ring.
Mhm.
And I did. Now this is a different ring. That's from Watkins Glen.
Mhm.
But that one was given to me in 90. What's this one from? This is from 90. Christine, I can't even, I'm too blind to even see it, but yeah. I
Well,
can't, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. I had forgotten about all of that. So
well, yeah. What I want us to do, we're going to go back in time, something that you knew about too. Just a minute. Let me bring us back up here and share screen this all over again. Oh,
do I need to plead the fifth for the next 2 minutes?
yeah, you do.
Oh, my God.
You're
Oh
fine.
my
Okay.
God. Look at this.
Yeah, I thought this would, we're gonna go back to the 1984 Firecracker 400.
I
And
was
this shows just a minute, this isn't the right one. Okay, so they're backwards. So this shows, I don't know
yeah.
why that's out of order. So this is when Reagan, now this is
Hold
blurry
on.
because I took a picture of a video moving with my computer. This is actually Air Force One landing, and they're going alongside the back straightaway in the race at Daytona Beach. He actually to the race. I remember the top security there. And
and I got to see that happen. And oh my God, looky here, we have the king, we have
we
the
do.
president, and God, who was that with the microphone? That looks like
familiar to me at all.
Oh, that's not me in the top left corner, is it? It could have been, but anyway, who knows?
Yeah, but Richard won that race. Kelly Yarborough pulled in the last birdie. There's Reagan himself looking at the king. But
now, did you take these pictures?
I didn't take them. What I did, it's on a video, and I just took my computer and did picture tape. Because as you know, this is something, you cannot replay anything. So I figured, what if I took a picture of a replay? Would I be able to pass and not get canned or have to pay a lot of royalties for it? So this is what this is. And with this race, now, where were you during all of this?
I was somewhere right in that crowd.
Okay, that's really interesting. So you were up where President Reagan was?
Oh yeah, I was right there. In fact, I'm probably in that group right there because it was a melee, as you might imagine, with all the cameras and the flashes and and I was right there in that mix.
That is excellent.
I'm trying to remember who that oh my God.
It never showed his face. I was going to take a picture of that. But the significance of this, nobody, even Ronald Reagan, states on here, and I wish I could play it, but I don't dare because it's NASCAR owned. But it is something to where he was even saying, I have never, ever experienced this before. This is a first, meaning King Richard, to have the 200th win. That's never been done in the world of history of racing.
If we of course, you and I set this up very late in the day today, and I'm still unpacking some stuff. I got my bookshelf over here, and then over here, which I'm not through yet, that's going to be all my NASCAR stuff on that shelf.
Right.
And I have got a mini helmet that Richard, one of Richard's STP mini helmets, and he took, they didn't have Sharpies back then, but I've got it over here. I'm going to have to dig that out. We'll have to do this again one night when I get all that stuff out. But I've got a mini helmet that he signed for me that afternoon.
Oh, wow.
And I gotta, and I've also got one from, I'm trying to remember if Davey Allison was in that race, I believe. And I saw where you had the header list up there.
Yeah, I had the top.
There. Oh, wait a minute. That was,
yeah, we're going to go to that. That was Benfield, but I wanted, for some reason on my slides, I don't know what happened. I had the top 20. The one that showed up was the last up to 16.
Oh my God, Neil Bonnet. Everything's better with Neil Bonnet on it.
Yeah, it is. And I was working for Joe Ruttman's team, and he came in 10th. And then, of course, Tim Richmond was right after that.
I have to plead the fifth on anything to do with Tim Richmond.
I knew you were going to say that. That's okay.
A lot of history between me and those names you just flashed, but
Richard won the race. And now here is Benfield Racing. This is the race, and we won the fastest pit crew time, and I was over the wall with that. Now here's one. I don't know if this is.
Hang on, where are you?
I'm not in this. This must have been another race, but this picture is me in a race.
There you
At the
go.
Michigan. And I am a skinny little thing, but I just ate like a horse on the speedway because of keeping up with the energy. So I really look hefty here, and I'm apologizing. But back then, there's the crew chief. It was Frog Fagan. There's Kenny Wallace. He was as
No way.
that's Kenny Wallace.
Let me.
And
That's right.
that's him. He played, he was a mechanic. Everybody starts as a mechanic. And I was there. I was in charge of brakes and tires. And I was there because it was 84. So I wanted to be the next woman out there driving. And when I had a sponsor come up to me and say, "Oh, I'll sponsor you, baby," I thought, I'm going to college. And so
And that's what's his name. What the guy right there is doing with his left hand.
yeah, he's turning the back spring.
He's putting some wedge in that wheel.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
is. And
Yeah.
that's Fagan. We called him Frog. Fagan.
Yes.
He rated me a 9 out of a 10 in mechanics, and that's what he would most rate guys. That was in one of the articles that were done.
Wait a minute, is that with his knee? Is that Buster Sloop?
No, that's Steve. I don't remember his last name. His was Whoop. I didn't really know we worked together in the shops, but I didn't know anybody on a personal level. I just showed up when I was supposed to, went to work and stayed for myself.
Does everybody know the story behind you? No pun intended, but does everybody know the story about you being, I believe, the first female over the wall?
Yeah, I went to the history of NASCAR, and what happened is because they went back in time to the 70s, there was a girl in hot pants standing over the wall touching a tire. So I couldn't be called the first female licensed mechanic. That's not even a comparison because I was greased up, as you can tell. Now, back then, as you know, we were talking about that today. Now, what I'm doing, I got a catch can. There's a fuel cell where you dump the gallons to fill a tank in just seconds. And we were able to fill a tank in 14 seconds. Now, if any spillage happens on the track, we get fined for it because it's slippery for cars behind us that are coming out there. And so as soon as I saw that fuel come up, bubbling up through there, I whipped my hand up, they dropped the jacks, and Joe took off. And we won the fastest pit crew time during this race. And so now if you notice, if you look
is that Joe Ruttman?
Yeah, it's Joe Ruttman.
That's right. Okay. I gotta think this through because this is going way back for me.
Yeah.
That's what was that, 80?
It was 84.
84, yeah. So we're coming up. My gosh, that's
yeah, I'm taking you back in time for a reason, because then we're going to talk about some, because that's what you did. You raced cars and all different circuits and stuff. So, but this is a start, so we can start, each week have a little bit more. Just to give history, back then we did not wear any fire protective anything.
right.
It's crazy because now if I had to do that today with all they have, I'd fall over trying to get over the wall with the helmet and all this heavy gear, so I wouldn't burn up in a flash or something. But it was freewheeling. It's so much different. It was more family like back then instead of the high tech. I think it went more like indie crowds, instead of back to the good old days type thing.
Yeah, it's God, I miss those days.
Yeah,
it was what you could get away with.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but we had Joe Ruttman. This is his fastest time, and there's a lot of stories we could just share with each other. But I know particularly we had special stuff that would come out. It was on computer, and we knew when it would be out of the system before the end. So if we did win, we would be safe. So everybody has different, and I shouldn't even be saying that, but you did too, Ray. You know about that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So moving on, this was actually a newspaper article from July 4th, 1984, that Larry Woody did. And that's me gauging tires. In the rain, it was raining. Can you believe that? It's
Oh
just
my gosh.
so Larry Woody, Steve Wade, all those guys are really great and did a lot of publicity. I mean, it helped with my search for, my reach for sponsors for driving and stuff.
Larry
That's
Wood. God, Christine, I don't even know if he's still around.
He is. I'm talking to him. I'm going to get him on one night. And this is just a little snip of me at Moroso Speedway down in Florida. Yeah, so
Oh my God.
little show and tell stuff. So it's just basically, let's talk about those. You raced. How many different circuits did you race?
I started out with SCCA,
Mm-hmm.
Sports Car Club of America, and then I went with IMSA,
Mm-hmm.
and our home track there was Road Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
and I drove for what started out then as Datsun in the last year of Datsun, and I think it was I don't remember, Christine. The next year it turned into Nissan.
Okay.
And I don't even know if I still got some of those pictures on my facelift book photo album, but there's my sponsor when I drove a 240Z and later a 260Z. But in the two there, I think there might be a picture of me up there on that, but Pioneer was our sponsor. And then Larry Baker, who is now he's no longer here. That was my uncle. He was the team owner. He started out in NASCAR, and because of money, because everything back then and still today, everything is done on a 1-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, I don't remember all the circumstances, but I mean, we're talking like in the 60s,
Mm-hmm.
and he couldn't get funding for that year. So that's when he took a slot over in IMSA, and he stayed there for a while as a car owner. And at one point, his head driver was Paul Newman.
Oh, okay.
And he got the Budweiser sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul came along with the Budweiser sponsorship. And so I had the opportunity of being mentored by Uncle Paul, one of the nicest people on the planet.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Did you know Elliot Forbes Robinson?
Briefly, not, I didn't, but met a couple times back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's just, wow. This is great.
Well, you spent quite most of your life literally around racing, from your television to your own experiences.
Understand that my mother, she was a Childress. Her maiden name
Oh
is
my
Childress.
gosh. Richard Childress.
And Richard is her second cousin.
Okay.
And then on my dad's side of the family, my fraternal grandmother, Winnie Baker, that's where the Larry Baker comes from, that group on the Pattersons and the Bakers.
Okay.
Of course, Buck Baker, who was a driver in his own right, way back.
I went to one of his schools.
And then, his son, Buddy, because there was Buddy, and then there was a considerable age difference between Buddy, and Buddy died a few years back.
Mhm.
That was sad. And then there was Tina.
Mhm.
And Tina was a year older than me. And then there was Randy. Randy was, I think, 2 years younger than me. Now, Randy, I haven't talked to him in years. He's still in the sport.
Mhm.
And last I heard, he took over um, Buck's Racing School,
Okay.
and and um, and going back to Joe Ruttman,
Mhm.
somehow Joe Ruttman and Buck Baker, and then Buddy got involved there for a little while, and then Randy, as he got older, he got involved. But somehow, um, all of that tied into the Rockingham track.
Okay, I've trained on that.
Yeah, and that's where Buck had his driving school for a while,
Mhm.
and then later, Joe, when he got in the car business, he was pretty successful in his own right. He had a couple, three dealerships. I
Well,
think I,
they,
I think Rick Hendrick bought those from him at one point.
yeah, there was a truck school at Rockingham, and
Yeah,
I was at the time I was because remember I went to college because I didn't want any more babies thrown at me if I wanted to have to sponsor. So I ended up being a columnist for a racing site, and I did all these racing schools. I did 13 schools, anything on wheels. I learned and wrote the story on it. And so I was at Rockingham, and I did. It's got that little niche in the wall that if you're not careful on that coming into the first the straightaway at turn one. But that was great. I was training on trucks, NASCAR trucks there, and then I went across the street to the drag strip, and I
right.
took Roy Hall's bracket dragster. I went a quarter mile in 8.3 seconds at
Yeah.
0 to 153 miles per hour. So I'll tell you what, that was different than circle track. Okay.
Well, it was somewhere back around that time. Um, I was what you would call a weekend warrior because I was in
Okay.
school at NC State back then,
Hmm.
and then Larry would call me up and say, "Hey, you need to go here. Or we're going here, or wherever."
Hmm.
And because there's a lot of commonality with certain tracks between the Bush series. Back then it was okay, it was Sportsman and Grand National up
Right.
until 83, and then in 84 Sportsman turned into the Bush series,
Hmm. Yep, I
and
remember.
then Grand National turned into the Winston Cup series.
Mhm.
That would happen in 84. So uh, somewhere around that time, I am working part-time at WRAL in Raleigh, TV5, and going to NC State. And I get a phone call from Uncle Larry, and he said, "Hey," um, and I won't mention the names or the circumstances just because, but the driver, a Sportsman series driver,
Hmm.
um, had just qualified, or excuse me, was getting ready to qualify for the Saturday Sportsman race
Hmm.
at Darlington,
That's.
and he got caught in Concord, North Carolina,
Hmm.
with an illegal substance.
Uh-oh.
We'll leave it at that. And so all of a sudden, here was this major sponsor, and the only thing I'll say who it was, I won't mention the name, but it involved this right here.
Hmm.
Okay. And the owner called Uncle Larry and said, "Who do you got? Who?" And he called, "Hey, I got nothing. That can drive, that can go fast and go left," because
Hmm.
I was a road course guy.
Mhm.
That's how I was trained. And then he called Uncle Buck.
Mhm.
And then, well, Ray's always wanted to
Circle
go
jerk.
fast and go left. So they called me, and that was on a Wednesday.
You know
And
what? You know what I'd love to do? I want to hold that story because I think next week we want to dive right into how Ray started in the circle track. I love it, Ray. We're gonna continue on. Right now I have Steve Ford with the car guy. You're gonna meet him, Ray. What I'm gonna do is introduce him. He's from the California coast. And Steve, I am trying to bring you over as a panelist.
sounds familiar.
Yeah, you're gonna learn a little bit about him. I'll pull up his website, and then I'm gonna bring you back. I'm gonna bring him on. Thanks, Steve. I'm gonna bring him on, and then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have you come back, and then we'll have a nice chat because that way you can get
Very
a chance
cool.
to
Very
chat with
cool.
you. Thank you so much. So Steve, before it's a little slide here for Steve, just so we all know who he is. He's the car guy. He's the original, authentic car guy. And he's going to tell a really quick story about that, but he has an excellent mission on what he wants to do through education. Steve's been everywhere from as an auto mechanic, he's teaching, he's been a dean of a college, he's been in journalist and broadcasting from advertising agencies, you name it. He definitely has been involved with every aspect here. So with that, I want to go ahead and welcome you, Steve. Thank you so much for being on here. There you are.
Great. Hi. Okay. Well, last week I was with you in a parking lot. Now I'm home. So,
Okay.
hi, Ray.
Steve, how are you now? Are you the same Steve that had the radio show that was syndicated on Saturday mornings?
Well, there's, car guys and car gals get run together sometimes. There's shows by the name that may be similar, but I have had a radio show that's out of multiple markets, out of Santa Barbara. It's called the Car Guy Show. And I first registered my name in 1983 as a DBA. And that's what I don't claim to be the originator of the Car Guy. We're all car guys, right? And Christine as well, guys, hey, you guys. So, but I was the first person to be, in 1984, I registered a service mark in California as an automotive consumer expert. And in 1985, I registered a national trademark. I was on Los Angeles radio with 93 KHJ, a pop music station, with the first in the nation, as I understood it from them, 60-second car tips. So my byline today is the Car Guy. I don't know what it's been, 37 years or something like that. So when I hear about another car guy, Ray and Christine, I realize, of course, we're all car guys. But to your question, yes, I've had a radio show. I do today automotive consumer features. They're 60 seconds, and my tagline is demystifying cars 60 seconds at a time. And that's my, thing. But thank you. Great to watch you, Ray and Christine, talk about the IMSA and the earlier days of motorsports, when it was all American, beautiful motorsports racing at its best. Richard Petty and NASCAR and all that. All American, right, Ray? With your American flag there.
There we go. Now, Steve, real quick, because I'm getting a little old here now, so my memory, Christine's bringing up stuff tonight I haven't seen in 35 years.
It's great for people to see that, though, right, Ray? It's how Paul Newman, out there.
Yeah.
Crazy cool.
Yeah, love that guy. Learned a lot from him, and not only on the track, but off the track. Steve, I believe that one of your shows at some point was syndicated in the Charlotte market on WBTAM.
I don't think that was a market that we were in, but what I might tell you that I did out of your backyard is in Lexington, Tennessee. Okay. I was at the HGTV studios doing a show for the DIY network, and that was national. So you're in the car culture. I've been in the car culture. I'm not sure what broadcast work you would have seen, but that would have been the TV side. The radio side was also in multiple markets, but that was not syndicated actually. So I should say that if you had something in what city was that you said?
Charlotte.
Yeah, that probably was another car guy, I'm afraid to say. But I mean, because I think there's probably some great broadcaster who's local out there. But I've been in California and I have been on outlets that are national and syndicated, but not in that market, and not like Clear Channel. You know, I think I mentioned to Christine, owning all these different stations, you could be in 50 markets at once. But I'm flattered that you think you might have seen a show in your market.
Your face looks familiar because I am known for remembering faces.
I understand.
I'm going to try to connect the dots here real quick. Christine, bear with me. Did you ever know a gentleman who died a few months ago? He was one of my partners back at Motor Tracks Interactive, by the name of Nelson Crozier.
It barely sounds familiar. I'm sorry, I don't know where I would have crossed paths with him.
He his primary thing, he owned Nelson Specialties. He made ignition systems for a lot of the Cup cars, and quite frankly, a lot of the different cars over the years. And he was also known as Mr. Wizard.
That sounds familiar. Yeah. That was his moniker.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a vendor in the aftermarket for the high performance world. Yeah. That Mr. Wizard sounds familiar.
Yeah,
but
he was a fixture on the Busch circuit and the Cup circuit forever, and he actually worked very well thought of throughout the industry. And it's just very sad that he,
but Ray, forgive me for saying this, but for you and all the guys and gals you worked with, and Christine, I'm learning more about you, seeing you this evening with Ray, and you guys reminiscing about some of the best times in motorsports. This is, as you guys, and I guess I can say you guys, got like a car guy, right? We're all car guys. You folks would definitely appreciate, Christine, I'm speaking to you, and I don't see you here on my display on visually. I can see Ray. I can see me and Ray, but not you. But I wanted to say, it is the best of Americana, engineering, passion, camaraderie. The automotive world brings it all together. And that's why, Ray, Christine and I talked last week about not simply passing the baton to next generations, but overlapping and connecting with youth today. Because as you go ahead,
I
Christine.
just wanted to make a mention. Ray, wait till you hear what he's doing with his ideas with bringing back things that are very necessary today with the youth. So I had to just hurry and say that because it's phenomenal what you're doing, Steve. So I'm going to stay back here and let you explain and tell Ray about it.
Well, for anybody that was with us last week, Christine, and then Ray, connecting with you tonight, what I would say is, I was actually earlier today talking with Christine about picking up where we left off last week. I laughed as I commented, Christine. I said, a lot of people are out there with trying to, save. They have different campaigns, save the whales, save the trees, save the planet, and I think that's all great. But some people sometimes talk about, you're trying to cure world hunger when you try to solve a problem. But I can go with that because I'm an idealist of sorts. And I know you can relate, Christine, because you are, and I'm sure Ray is too. The entrepreneurial spirit is American. It's not exclusive to America any more than I'm the exclusive car guy. There are many people who are car guys, better than me, faster than me, smarter than me. But I've gone in the media as a spokesperson, as a mechanic originally, Christine, because you talk about careers. And Ray can relate because, cutting the line on a track and getting the right tire compound, Christine, you can completely relate to. Setting the suspension up, getting the ignition and fuel to work properly, and having driver feedback and the pit crew work together. It's an orchestra. And so that kind of camaraderie is contagious. And yet I don't see our nation really, with all the resources we have, with our spirit, with our innovation, with our enterprise, with our passions. I see us fumbling the ball when it comes to dealing with kids in hands-on skilled trades. And as I mentioned earlier, Christine, and for Ray as well, Ray is there, right, Christine? I see you
Yeah,
now.
he's
But
there. He's there. Yeah, you're
all
gonna
right.
go back and forth probably.
Yeah. So Ray, I just want to tell you, Christine knows my heart on this. I've worked in the industry. I'm thinking it's been. I first registered my name, as I said, in terms of a byline or a business name in 1983, but I went to school in the mid 1970s in Los Angeles, where I went into auto shop as a 15-year-old, and here I am, today in my 60s, passionate as I was as a teenager, like each of you are. That kind of enthusiasm for what we talk about, with all due respect to appliance people, appliance stores and appliance salespeople, they don't seem to have appliances and coffee, on Saturdays. They don't set up washing machines in parking lots and talk about them. We are so stirred by automobiles and transportation. They so punctuate every moment of our lives, from weddings to funerals to births. Your mom got to the hospital barely because your dad was driving there, on the sidewalk or whatever, to get your mom to the hospital, to deliver you, not in the back seat, something like this. You know what I mean, right? Cars are everywhere in our lives, and they punctuate the styling of the eras of the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and today, as bland as they might be, they're still punctuating our memories of when we went on that vacation or what have you. I get sentimental for a moment, because what I'm talking about, Ray, that Christine and I visited last week, is that we don't have kids getting the same privilege we had to have. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Our parents understood that they were part of generations coming through and beyond World War II. And in 1945 to 1960, industrial arts and industrial education, vocational education, was not something to be embarrassed about. It was the national pride. What helped overcome Hitler's race toward domination of Europe, you know what he was blunted by? American ingenuity in Detroit.
Yeah.
The arsenal of democracy. He did not know, nor did Japan, unfortunately, with those people being our allies now, Germany and Japan. These our foes underestimated the passion and the enterprise of the best of the international machinists, welders, engineers, scientists. People gravitated to the United States, and they called it the arsenal of democracy. What a great name. The arsenal of democracy. The arsenal of democracy was manufacturing, production, engineering, innovation, assembly, enterprise, tanks, airplanes, anything we needed. The government said, hey, Detroit, can you come through for us? And what do you think happened? Ray and Christine.
I mean, it's like what happened with when the Department of Defense went to Ford, and their role that they played in
which airplane was that? They converted up, they built the whole a manufacturing of airplanes within 2 years. Miraculous.
That was right? The P-47 through the P-51.
Thank you. But that's the stuff that you picked on the wrong country, right? Yeah. I mean, now we have a global tension of power struggles in every continent, and it's unfortunate because we're a wonderful country, but we are a composition of German engineers and machinists, Italian woodworkers and leather workers, and designers and artists, Spanish, machinists and welders and what have you. What I mean by this is whatever part of the country, Japan, the Philippines, South America, Eastern Europe, Russia, Africa. I mean, people come to the United States with their skills and their dreams, and they come in and they bring their arts, their crafts, their talents, their science backgrounds, and so on. And the thing that is alarming from this, global look I'm offering you, Christine, is that in the United States, one thing we were known for, and Ray, this is going to make you cry. You ready? Made in USA.
Yes, yes, yes.
I mean, that
absolutely.
used to be the standard of the world. I don't mean to be disparaging of Germany, Japan, Asia, the Middle East, anywhere, Central America, South America, Canada, China. People around the world make great things, but the United States, let's be frank, people came here from all over the world with their gifts and talents, and they went and they struggled, and they assimilated into the American culture, but they brought their passion. And so you got Germans, Spanish, French, Italians, people from Turkey, people from the Middle East, people from Asia. They come here and they exercise their gifts and talents and make their careers and their lives in the land of the free. And so what I'm concerned about is not, pounding on my chest and saying, we are America and we do things better. No, we are America and we are all of you. We are bringing together, each and every country's best talents. My concern is that I've talked to Christine about is public education made a transition in the 1980s to start to eliminate electives. And it's not a mistake in and of itself. It's a mistake when you take out a vacuum cleaner and you start vacuuming everything, including the diamonds that fell off the shelf you just knocked over. And you're not even looking where you're going with the vacuum cleaner. You were just told vacuum everything, And so when they said, let's start eliminating electives, guess what? They kept the vacuum cleaner going and sucked up wood shop, metal shop, auto shop, and what happened was nobody objected because we were all on the outside. The automotive industry was operating to survive. Manufacturing in Detroit and other parts of the country was operating to survive. So public education went unchecked. And I mean, I'm sounding like a curmudgeon, but I don't mean it quite so negatively the direction I'm going. People thought they were doing the right things by trying to up the academic power of our nation by ramping up the number of classes that were academic in high school. The dropout rate went up. The skilled trades competence levels went down. The industry was not getting new talent coming in because every time a metal shop closed or a wood shop closed or an auto shop closed, we eliminated the recruitment, the on-ramps. On-ramps are what you get on a highway or a freeway, depending on what you call it, no matter what part of the country you're in. In order to get on the highway, you've got to get to an intersection or an on-ramp. Right. By eliminating all the on-ramps across the nation in public education, we're stuck with kids who don't know the difference between a Phillips screwdriver and a flathead screwdriver. Does that make sense, Christine?
It sure does. It definitely
You're
does.
fun with, I love your Made in USA. I want to be clear though. Thank you. I can see you there. It's a negative thing if I were simply to say to you and your audience, it's, we are USA. That's not the point. We are humans and we have kids around the world who need to know it doesn't matter where that wrench was made or that screwdriver was made. They need to know we need people that know how to use those tools.
Mm-hmm. Definitely so. God, you're just awesome. I really appreciate it. What I want to do is I want to recognize quite a bit of those that have come on. And if you have any questions, just please put them in chat. We have Ray Patterson and Steve Ford, the car guy, Ray Patterson, the racer, the CFA, you name it. Both of you have so many times.
The ambassador of fast cars.
There you go. There you go. That's it. That's a good one, Steve. So we have Keith from Texas. Thank you so much for being here, Keith. We have Doug, and Doug is an incredible PR person guru from California. He's the one who introduced me to Steve Ford, and that's Mr. Doug Stokes.
Oh, Doug's with us?
Yeah, he's with us. In fact, Doug owned the Auto Books, Aero Books, and
he is the best, Christine. He is motorsports, camaraderie, class, character, fast cars.
I'm
marketing.
gonna get a text from him because he told me last time I'm just a PR guy. Don't say anything about me. So I know I'm gonna get another email from him. But he owned. I did a live broadcast when I had my radio show going, and we had some Hollywood stars come in, and he was there, and he gave me a very special gift. I still have it in my bookcase. So thank you, Doug. Carla Johnson from Billings, Montana. She's on tomorrow night. She's actually a talent agency that was been able to get some of her artists on the or actors in the movies as well as on the runway. So it's really nice to know the in between of what it's like behind the scenes to get your foot in a door. And that's why I think it's really good with tonight about it's about the drive between you two and myself and some other great friends that we have. We could probably get people somewhere, at least to start an idea, even if it's in their own community, getting a little thing going back to the schools, have auto mechanics back, with the big car test things, that type of thing.
It's funny you say that though, Christine, because I have to admit, I used to say to people, I spent 4 years as in fact, Doug Stokes would remember this, even though we're not supposed to mention his name, as great a guy as he is. Doug Stokes, who was at Auto Books, Aero Books, in Burbank, where you would have dealt with him, and I did too, and I'd stop in regularly. I spent 4 years covering California as an outreach person for the auto industry for the California Motor Car Dealers Association, and I was still doing my broadcast and my writing and things like this freelance, but I was part educator, and in that capacity, I was working on internships. And I remember that was a time when I mentioned to you earlier today, Christine, and for all of you in the audience of the show, and Ray, you would appreciate, in California, we have the highest level of technicians in the nation. Now, the nation could say, what are you talking about? We got 49 states that aren't California. We got great technicians. We got Christine. We got Ray. We got all those people in motorsports. Of course you do. But only California has the strictest emission check policy. You know what I mean? So watch this. You're in California. Let me get this straight. You have the highest standards for technicians to have to be able to inspect cars that have to meet stringent emissions that set the standard for the world. Now, I don't want to be, ethnocentric as that term it goes, that anthropological term that, ethnography, we are the center of the universe. No, America's not, nor is California. But California has set the highest standards because we have the Los Angeles basin that's a smog capital like Athens, Greece, where you have the smog sits there like it's in a dish. So because of that, since the 1950s, we've had to have an epicenter by coincidence, like earthquakes, that is the hotbed for technicians who can make cars pass smog tests, which means those cars have to have precision and operating abilities that are 100% to pass tests that are for exhaust emissions and emissions testing. What's my point? My point is, it's ironic that in California, we're also the poster child for shutting down all the auto shops in high schools. And it's like, let me get this straight. We have to have the best technicians in the nation in terms of just being sure they can fix these cars and be sure they pass the smog test that's a standard for the nation. And then you turn around and you have auto shops that are closing across the nation and in California, and California leads the nation in speed of closing auto programs and number of auto programs closed. And now what we're left with is some of the highest dropout rates for high school students, because many of us, and I'm one, I learned to work with my hands from my dad, and I learned from neighbors and uncles, and then ultimately, Ray, guys like you, who were car guys that I looked up to and was mentored by, as Christine was, as Paul Newman was. And somebody had to touch us and ignite our spirits and make us passionate about realizing, hey, I can learn how things work. I can learn how to fix things too. But if we don't teach kids, if we don't have a visible opportunity for them to know about us, our public school system right now is really under tremendous pressure to meet high academic standards to get into colleges, which is noble.
Yeah, Steve, what I'm thinking is that this is a good kickoff for next week to say, okay, we've explained the problem. Now let's brainstorm and say, here's some solutions. Let's get the audience to bring in solutions. So that's it. One thing I want to shout out to, I didn't get to finish. We got Carla Johnson Billings, Tommy Waldron, and Tommy is from Texas, but he mentioned that, thank you, Tommy. He says, can we talk about your book? Well, I am going to just put a quick plug in, and we're going to run a quick little video on this book. And thank you for saying that. And we're going to have to close out. Ray's got it. I gotta have to get you one, Steve. It's a brand new book published, and it's because I've never done this type of business before, and that's of course the business of network marketing. But here is a little commercial that I put in with this. So let's just figure this one out and watch it.
Fun.
So there you go.
Where do I sign? I'm ready to buy one. That music sounds dramatic, like you're going to change the world.
I am, and so are we together. What?
She's already doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I think 9 at Night brings people from all facets of every aspect of the world in some way, that we can do something, have a message across. So Steve, you and I, we're going to get whatever and Ray, we're going to have a court through email or something, so we can get a title of what this is going to be named, of our push. And that way we can all incorporate everything in it, and everyone owns their own little block in it. But I think we can have fun with that, Steve, and get this out, because we all are car people. We know the kids needing something to do so that they do you're not getting in trouble and stuff after school. In fact, Tommy,
Christine, you know what, forgive me, just briefly, life skills, life skills, problem solving, and feeling like, number one, you matter, number two, you're needed, number three, you are competent. How do you know? We're going to show you.
I love it. I love it. We're at the end of our hour.
That's what we need to do. That's our job as adults.
We are going to do it too. I want to thank you too for being on here. I just learn from you each and every week.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks, Christine.
Steve, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And thank all of you for coming here. You definitely have to be back next week, because we are definitely going to get this started and have.
We're going to cure world hunger.
There you go. Okay.
Thank you.